Hey guys, I got another Rate My Team video for the National Competitive Pokemon League, a draft league on Facebook. It's private. Feel free to check it out and join it. We have 20 competitors in there right now competing in a draft. All replays are posted, so even if you don't want to play, come check out the replays and see what everybody's about. Today, I've done all of them almost in one day, so I'm playing catch up, unfortunately, but I'm gonna look at Connor Peterson's team. So a funny little thing when I was doing this, so many times in the recording, because I've recorded these, these videos like a minimum of 5 times over. I said Connor Peterson so many goddamn times, and I did not want that in the video, and I felt bad about it. So I was remaking the video multiple times over. God forbid I do that again. So anyways, Connor drafted Zeraora, Mega Beedrill, Virizion, Scrafty, Walrein, Arcanine, Togekiss, Espeon, Zygarde 10%, Cursola, and Silvally Steel. Sorry. So at face value, it's a pretty safe draft with Zeraora, Arcanine, and Togekiss. The Arcanine and Zeraora, I mean, they're both weak to Earthquake, covered by Togekiss, and Togekiss in turn gets covered by Zeraora and Volt Absorb. Those are definitely his 3 best, I'd say, and they're going to be brought to almost every single game. The speed tier of his team is quite high, with Mega Beedrill, Zeraora, and Zygarde 10% having extreme speed and just having a high speed tier in general. Outside of those Pokemon, though, that I just named, I feel like his draft is a little bit weird, with Walrein. Espeon's got a really high speed tier as well. Sorry, I didn't mention that. Walrein, Virizion is good. I mean, it's good, but at the same time, it's limited to grass and fighting moves. It does have Justified, I think, which is good. But, it's an okay Pokemon. Its speed tier is decent, but again, limited in move pool. So, and then you got Cursola. I really don't know about this pick. I personally have not even seen it in any of the Switch competitions I've played in. I know it can be utilized in a Trick Room team, but other than that, its defense is so low, and being weak to knockoff, and knockoff being so prevalent, it's a little bit weird to me. Maybe he got it to face Robin in a Trick Room battle. I'm not really sure, but if you do know, or you think you know why he drafted that, or Connor yourself, you can explain. Let me know. I'd be very interested to know what your thoughts were on that. And then you got, Silvally Steel, which is, any Silvally really is good, and a Silvally Steel is one of the better Silvallis. So it helps momentum on his team with Parting Shot, Defog, and U-Turn. So it keeps those rocks away for Arcanine, Walrein, Mega Beedrill, and Togekiss, which is really useful. Gives him momentum, helps him get Pokemon in safely after a Parting Shot. But so another thing that I want to mention is he's got 1, 2, 3, 4 Pokemon that are really don't like rock moves or stealth rocks in general, and only 2 ways to get rocks off in Magic Bounce and Defog. So if you're versing Connor, rocks are going to be very imperative to your game plan, or it should be. It can make Connor very predictable if you're going to set up rocks. So that is one thing that I would say is not so great about Connor's team, is very limited options to get rocks away, and then 4 Pokemon that are weak to rocks, and Beedrill, who likes to come in and out of gameplay a lot, is really gonna not appreciate having rocks on the field. So after all that, I rated his offense an 8. He's got Zeraora. Zeraora is probably one of the best draft picks out there. Plethora of move pools, Plasma Fists, A side note that I want to mention that people always forget about: Plasma Fist turns all normal type moves to electric, and then he has Volt Absorb. So it's overlooked, but is still useful. So something to watch out for. Next, you have Mega Beedrill. Mega Beedrill, weak to rocks, but a really high speed tier. Over 450. Is it over 450? I'm sorry, guys. I'm losing my voice too. Mega Beedrill. Smokin. 145. So what is that? Fuck. Mega Beedrill. No, okay, not 470. My bad. It's 427. So that's still really high. That's going to naturally outspeed some Scarfers and some faster Scarfers. So with adaptability and U-turn and Poison Jab, or X Scissor, he does also have Drill Run, I believe. So he's got a decent move pool, and the amount of chip he's going to get off is going to be really helpful. So, that it's a great offensive pick. He needed a little bit more momentum on his team anyway, since the only other momentum building he has is from Volt Switch Zeraora or U-turn Parting Shot Silvally. So it's not a whole lot, considering he's going to need to get in a defogger probably often. So then you got Zygarde, 10%, extreme speed, 1,000 arrows, hits flying types, so he's never walled by flying, which is really, really great. Extreme speed, revenge killer, still has pretty high attack, really good speed tier as well, around 340, I believe. You got Espeon with magic bounce, really high special attack, good speed, a little bit limited move pool, but Psychic is a pretty good move to be hitting neutral anyways, so it'll be good to chip down Pokemon. I think it learns Calm Mind as well, so it's something to watch out for. One other offensive option I want to mention, you could mention Togekiss in Choice Scarf Air Slash, but it's looking like he's going to need Togekiss to do defogging and heal belling, so I can't see it being offensive too much unless the matchup permits him to. So one sneaky offensive option I want to mention is Scrafty. Shedskin Scrafty with Bulk Up or Dragon Dance can be an issue if you're not prepped for something like that to come out. Because his bulk, he can rest and then get the Shedskin. It can be a real problem, so watch out for that offensively. And before I move on, I do want to say Arcanine can be run offensively. Its move pool is fantastic. It does have Flash Fire, Flame Body, and Intimidate. Does it have Flame Body? I know it has Flash Fire and Intimidate, so but he's got a really great move pool. He's super bulky. He's a decent speed tier, and he also learns extreme speed. So moving on to defense, I rated a 5.5, and so hear me out on this. I know he has Arcanine, I know he has Silvally Steel, and he's got Togekiss, but you got 3 out of his 4 defensive Pokemon, I want to say, are weak to rocks, which is not good. You got something like Aggron running around, or Rhyperior, or anything with a strong rock stab, or just Stealth Rocks in general. It's really going to force Connor to become predictable and trying to get those rocks out or switching away. So with that said, his defense is a 5.5. He's going to be forced to make predictable switches and try and get rocks off. He needs to have something to clean up that rock weakness defensively. So he has Silvally, but at the same time Silvally doesn't have reliable recovery, and he's not going to be wish passing, so that warrants a 5.5 to me. It could be better. I think he could use that Cursola pick maybe to draft something to cover up that rock weakness more than Silvally. So next we have speed. I rated a 9. Zeraora's top of the crowd with the speed tier, 420. So 423. Was it 427 as well? 423, yeah. So 423, he doesn't need to use scarves. He's got a decent attack pool and attack stat. So you got Verizion at 346 or 348. Pretty good. Has close combat, has focus blast, has Giga Drain or Leaf Blade. So you know, when you hit that 350 mark, that's where I'd say it's better than just average. Next up, you got Mega Beedrill, 427. I mean, as I just said with Zeraora, you're going to outspeed things that even have Scarf. So to be able to get those U-turns off is going to be really helpful for his team and chipping Pokemon down. And then, you know, Beedrill cleaning up himself or Zeraora cleaning up. It's just going to be really good for him. So that Mega Beedrill is going to be a threat with that speed tier. And the last two is Espeon and Zeraora. Zeraora, obviously, you know, I would say max in speed tier because extreme speed, but it also has a 340-ish speed tier, which is really good. He's not walled by flying types, so you know, that really helps him out. I mean, he doesn't need to run Scarf because he's got extreme speed, so he's, you know, able to utilize Life Orb, Choice Band, or something else that's more useful to the matchup. And then you got Espeon, who's also in that above 350 range. You know, it's got 350 speed and then 359 special attack, which is absolutely fantastic, with the ability to have Calm Mind as well. You know, it's going to outspeed those slower Scarfers. It can run Scarf if it wants, but generally it's probably going to run, you know, a Life Orb or Specs or something like that. That's really useful for it. So next we got excuse me, Hazards. So Hazards I rated a 5. He doesn't really have hazards. So I'm looking at it, I can't even see a Rock Setter. So I'm pretty sure nobody gets rocks on his team, and I don't think he has spikes. So to have no Rock Setter in a draft is kind of hindering his team a little bit. I feel like having rocks is just always good, and you should at least have one Rock Setter in case a matchup is really needed for it. For example, Matt's team really doesn't like rocks being up, and it can make Matt pretty predictable. So not having rocks is a big kicker in my eyes. So and then for hazard control, you got Togekiss, you got Silvally Steel, and you got Espeon. So okay hazard control, but generally you would want Togekiss to run more offensive sets and not rely on it so much for support. But with his offensive cast, he can use it as support. It's fine. It also would help the Arcanine, since he can cover the Earthquake, but again, they both don't like rocks, so that's an issue. And then you got Silvally, which you generally don't want chipped down too much since it's one of your Pokemon to cover that rock weakness. So hazards 5. He doesn't have hazards himself from what I can see. He can magic bounce them away, but again, that becomes predictable in my opinion. And his hazard control is okay, having 3 Pokemon that can control hazards and 3 Pokemon that generally don't want to be taking hazard damage and taking chip damage and becoming predictable switches. So they're imperative for his team to do well. So, like, you know, example, if Togekiss goes down because, you know, somebody calls the switch out and predicts the switch and they kill Togekiss, well, now he's got 1, 2, 3 Pokemon potentially that are going to deal with rock damage all game, and Zeraora to constantly get chipped down by rocks, which you don't want because generally Zeraora is one with Life Orb too. So last but not least, we got Momentum. I rated a 9. His momentum with Zeraora, Mega Beedrill, and Silvally is going to be really, really strong. Although all 3 of those getting hit by Earthquake and not liking it is going to be a bit of an issue and slow him down. I think his momentum is still really, really strong. Beedrill really is that momentum Pokemon that I think is bringing it up to a 9, because The adaptability U-turn is just going to surprise so many people in the amount of damage it's going to do, and how much it's going to help Connor's team out in terms of cleaning up with, Choice Scarf Togekiss or Zure Aura or Extreme Speed Zygarde, Choice Band Zygarde, so that warrants a 9 for sure. Espeon bounces back Stealth Rocks. Again, just keeping up the momentum on his side, so his team definitely deserves a 9 in momentum. I rated it a total of 36.5. That is, in between the good and really good. And what I mean by that rating is I think it can be better, but can't be worse. So I think he could switch out a couple things. Like, I really don't understand the Walrein pick. I don't understand the Cursola pick. I would love to hear it. Somebody explain why those picks are good and how they help his team. So if you guys do know, please let me know. I'm sorry if I don't see something about those two Pokemon that's absolutely detrimental to his team. All I'm seeing is those two Pokemon can be replaced with something better to cover his weaknesses, or set up rocks or get rocks away, so or to build his momentum better and chip down. I don't know, anything but what I'm seeing from those two. So overall, again, my ratings are not be all end all. The last thing I want is people to get mad or upset. They're just for fun, for people to enjoy and have something to see and represent their team, rather than just read on a post or comment what people think or what their team looks like, right? And to say that, I don't want to discredit what Leo and Calvin do in there, because they have absolutely phenomenal work and how they organize their files and stuff like that. I just want to add to that with something cool like this. I definitely am not discrediting that. I just want something fun in there, and ultimately everybody to enjoy this. So for those of you who came by and checked out the video, whether that was for 1 minute or the entire time, I do super duper appreciate it. And thank you guys. I hope you stick around for my other ones. I'm pretty close to catching up, and I hope you guys enjoy these. Thanks a lot. Whew. Okay, I am almost caught up. I'm one away from being caught up, so I hope I can do these a lot better when I'm not pressed to get them all out for you guys, because the longer I wait and the longer I procrastinate or try and doodle around with these, the more the list piles up of me to catch up on people. So please forgive me if some of these are longer or shorter. Generally, if they're shorter, I just can't find more things to talk about your team, as it just doesn't have anything to talk about, because it's either because it's really good, or it just doesn't have any weaknesses. So and if it's longer, it's generally got more things to point out and talk about. So these are just for fun. I just want everybody to enjoy them and have something to see visually. So getting to it, this is for the National Competitive Pokemon League, or the NCPL. It's a Facebook group. They've been running drafts for 6 seasons now. They do run tourney tours as well, but I think that's way more off to the side. That's definitely not their main course. So that said, the next person in line here is Robin. I'm not gonna try to pronounce your last name. I really don't want to butcher it, but I'm gonna say Robin S. So Robin's team, when I looked at it on the draft sheet originally, it scared the hell out of me because of Trick Room. And Trick Room is so hard to compete against because it's got very little counterplay. And I think he got away with so many draft picks for Trick Room, and you know, I'm surprised nobody sniped him just to make sure that his team wasn't so strong for Trick Room. So getting into it, he drafted a Mega Scissor, Mandibuzz, Marowak A, Excelgor, Kecleon, Salamence, Slowbro G, sorry, Porygon 2, Seismitoad, and Galarian Weezing, or Weezing G. So right away you can see that he's very centralized on Trick Room, and I want to say a little bit over centralized. A similar case to Leo, where Leo drafted Rain, where I want to mention Leo made sure that if Rain doesn't go up, he has options to compete still. Whereas I feel like if Robin's Trick Room is not up, or he gets rid of the Trick Room users like Porygon and Kecleon, I feel like his team suffers dramatically. I mean, it's kind of cleared up with Quick Draw on Slowbro and Intimidate Dragon Dance on Salamence, but really it's his speed tier is very, very bad outside of Trick Room, so I feel like he's a little bit over centralized on it. And I feel like he could draft some things that might help deal with that better. But overall, I think he's got a very scary looking team. Porygon 2 is just super annoyingly bulky with Recover, sets up Trick Room, and has Teleport. Combine that with... sorry. Combine that with Alola Marowak, who, 500 base attack because of Thick Club, just terrifying. And then got that new move Poltergeist, which stab ghost type over 100 base attack on that move is ridiculous to say the least. That was a very terrifying thing for me to verse. So that is a huge win for his team to get that teleport and then have Marowak combined with that. So, or teleport into Scissor and get that slow U-turn and chip down the opponent. Next, you have, Galarian Slowbro, who can utilize that Trick Room and set up Nasty Plot, which is ridiculous. And he got that Shell Sidearm move, which, hits defense or special defense, whichever one's going to work better. So, and then you got Mega Scizor, who can abuse Trick Room as well. So, just overall, a really good looking draft right from the get-go. I mean, he's got 2 defoggers. He's got electric resistance for Salamence and Mandibuzz. He's got ground immunity for Marowak, and Galarian Slowbro. He's got dark coverage for Galarian Slowbro as well in Mandibuzz, and he's got a cleanup sweeper if Trick Room goes down with Salamence. So getting into that though more, we'll start with the offense. I rated a 9.5. I think it's the highest rating of offense that I gave so far anyway. It's 9.5 because if you don't taunt him, or you don't bring somebody with taunt, or you let him set up Trick Room, I mean, he just gets free Pokemon. He just gets free kills. So I mean, he sends in Porygon 2, you send in something without taunt, he Trick Room, he teleports, gets in Marowak, clicks whatever button it wants, either Poltergeist or Flare Blitz, and you're gonna take 80% of your health more than likely, unless you got something to wall both those attacks. And then he still has Trick Room, so he's faster, and then you lose a Pokemon like that. It's a very a simple strategy, but at the same time, it's it requires Robin to lead properly, build the right things around it, which you can see he's done. And then you got Galarian Slowbro with Nasty Plot, Shell Sidearm, Quick Draw, Click Claw is really freaking annoying. Pretty hard to beat that if he's getting the RNG on that. So, and then other offensive options is Mega Scizor with Sword Stance, or Bulk Up, or not Bulk Up, sorry, Curse. who essentially would make him faster in the Trick Room. And Salamence with Intimidate. A dragon, he needed one. Can be run physical or special attack. Decent speed tier in 328, so it helps him if Trick Room isn't up. But aside from that, that's really all his offensive options are. That's kind of all he needs, in my opinion. He made it pretty clear that he wanted to centralize around Marowak and the Trick Room, so that's what you're going to see most. It's probably going to be brought to almost every single game. Expect that when you verse him. The offense is a 9.5 because Trick Room is very hard to counter, and if you don't counter it, you're probably going to be losing unless you make some really optimal switches and predictions. So the 0.5 is on the occasion that you can get the taunt off and stop him from getting Trick Room up. Aside from that, it's pretty damn hard to stop that. Having 2 Trick Room setters and not having to need Trick Room with Quick Draw and Salamence and Mandibuzz out there, right? So next we have defense. I rated a 9. I rated his defense a 9 because you got Seismitoad, you got Porygon 2, you got Kecleon, you got Mandibuzz, you got Weezing G. So how do those Pokemon work together? Well, Weezing covers that fairy weakness that Mandibuzz has. Mandibuzz covers the knockoff weakness that Porygon 2 has. Seismitoad covers the electric weakness that Mandibuzz has. It's pretty hard to beat that between Teleport and U-Turn. Scissor can be used defensively as well. The Fire Blast can be covered by Mandibuzz or Seismitoad or even Porygon 2 because it's bulky enough. So he's got momentum in his defensive core, which is really, really good. Pretty hard to break it if he's teleporting away, and then U-turning, roosting, toxicking with Mandibuzz or Seismitoad or Weezing. The defensive core that he has, although not conventional, I think works really well together, and it deserves a 9. It's pretty hard to stop that. It does share fighting weaknesses, I want to mention, but let's say you go for that fighting move. Well, you really, really, really got to think: is he going to make that switch for a fighting move? Because what I mean by that is he going to switch into Alolan Marowak, and what I mean by that is if you use that fighting move and he switches into Alola Marowak or Mega Scissor, he's either going to get a Flare Blitz or Poltergeist off, or he's going to get a free U-turn off. So regardless, he's able to flow between his defense, and for me, even though they share a fighting weakness, it's covered in Weezing, it's covered in Seismitoad, it's covered in Mega Scizor. I think Slowbro also tanks it, so if he decides to run Regenerator on the Slowbro, that's a free switch for Slowbro. Well, so overall, just a super really well-rounded defensive team. Next is speed. I rated it a 5 because I would rate it lower but Trick Room, and I would rate it higher for Trick Room, but it was kind of hard to rate speed based on Trick Room because it needs, I guess I rated the Sun and Rain teams high because of Sun and Rain, and I could have rated this team high because of Trick Room, but the difference between those teams and this one is they had options outside of the Rain and the Sun, like Mega Sharpedo for Josh and Dragonite and Scolipede for Leo, whereas Robin really only has Salamence outside of Trick Room and Quick Draw from Slowbro if he decides to run it. So for me, that puts it at a 5. I know he has Excelgor there as well, but Excelgor is generally not an offensive Pokemon and is usually a suicide lead, so I think it's a 5, but do not underestimate that rating as a 5. It's a 5, but that doesn't mean it's bad. Trick Room is a problem, and all his Pokemon are really damn slow. So you know he sets up Trick Room. Well, now he's outspeeding you in every single way. So don't overlook that. Next up is hazards. I rated it an 8, and I would rate it better if you didn't have 4 rock weaknesses in Marowak, Excelgor, Mandibuzz, and Salamence. But it's still, he has good hazard setup in Seismitoad and Kecleon. So, you know, Kecleon will generally survive one hit because of color change. And Seismitoad generally always gets rocks up for free. So, decent rocks is needed on every team, and it really helps him chip down the opponent between his U-turns, teleports, and you know, getting that little extra chip damage could be the what do you call it? The amount that he needed for Marowak to get the one-hit KO. So it's very useful for his team to get those one-hit KOs with the Stealth Rock. So for hazard control, he's got Mega Scizor, which is a really good hazard control Pokemon if he decides to run it like that, which he can, since he's got offensive options in Marowak and Slowbro anyway. And Mandibuzz. And if he ran Defog on Mega Scizor, that frees up some moves for Mandibuzz. And Mandibuzz really excels from that and benefits from it, because it can run Toxic, it can run Taunt, it can run U-turn, it can run Foul Play, it can run Knockoff. It can run all sorts of things. Tailwind, if he wanted to have a safety option in case his Trick Room is going to go down. So hazards, I rated an 8. It's pretty decent. So pretty decent control and pretty decent setup. So last we have momentum, which is an 8. It is 100% momentum on his side when Trick Room is up. There is no momentum for the opponent unless they have built Trick Room counters. And what I mean by that is if they have EV spread the Pokemon to utilize the Trick Room, but wouldn't be super beneficial for them to do that in case Trick Room isn't up and they needed the speed. So the momentum when that Trick Room is up, I feel like is 99.9% Robin's. He's just going to continue to click Poltergeist and Flare Blitz or Nasty Plot and Shell Sidearm. So with that said, I mean, you know, that's offensively. He's also got defensive momentum in U-turn, slow U-turns from Scizor or fast U-turns from Scizor, slow or fast U-turns from Mandibuzz, dependent on Trick Room being up, and then negative priority teleport from Porygon to get in free switches for any Pokemon he wants. So a lot of momentum with and without Trick Room. I think that's a really good attribute to Robin's team, and it's going to be one of the harder things to come up against when versing Robin. Overall, I think his team was 39.5. It could be better, in my opinion. There isn't any Mon that I would switch out. I just mean like, what do I mean with that? I think the speed is at 5, and I could have rated the speed higher because of Trick Room. I do think Robin has an incredibly strong draft and a very centralized team around Trick Room that, even though it's over centralized, I think is going to be really hard to beat, and I still think he's going to be on the higher list of wins. So Robin's team is at that really good. He is far above that good level, and you're going to see that in his games. So again, thank you guys. I know these are kind of cringy sometimes with me saying and taking deep breaths, but I'm losing my voice. But I just hope these are fun and enjoyable, and I hope you guys at least enjoy the Pokemon moving on the screen and seeing a team stat thing. I thought that was kind of cool. So thank you guys, love you guys. See you on the next one.